In the previous section, we learned how land planning and master plans guide the long-term design of a community. Now, we move from planning to the legal tools that governments use to enforce those plans. Land use planning cannot succeed without a mechanism to ensure development happens responsibly. This is where public land use controls, particularly zoning and police power, play a central role. These controls shape how land can be used, protect property values, promote public safety, and prevent incompatible uses, such as a manufacturing plant next to a quiet residential neighborhood. Understanding public land use control. Public land use control is grounded in the government's legal authority to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. Although property owners have broad rights, those rights are not absolute. The government may limit a landowner's ability to use property if doing so protects the community. These limits are not designed to restrict freedom, but to avoid harm and ensure that growth benefits everyone. Without zoning laws and building regulations, development could quickly become chaotic and harmful to neighborhoods, infrastructure, and the environment, which counters the principles of orderly planning discussed in the previous section. Public control can take many forms, including zoning ordinances, environmental regulations, subdivision standards, and building safety codes. For example, while a master plan may identify an area for future residential development, zoning laws then designate which specific types of housing are permitted, such as single-family homes or apartment communities. Likewise, building codes enforce safe construction practices, ensuring homes and commercial buildings meet fire, electrical, and structural standards. Police power and its role in real estate. The source of public land control comes from the state's police power, its constitutional authority to pass and enforce laws promoting public health, safety, and welfare. Cities and counties exercise police power through enabling legislation, meaning the state authorizes them to create local zoning laws. Police power allows governments to regulate land use, require building permits, create safety codes, establish environmental protections, and even dictate aesthetic standards in some communities. For example, a city may require homeowners to obtain a permit before building a garage addition or enforce pool fencing laws to protect children from drowning. Even if a property owner believes they own their land, they still must comply with public safety rules. In practice, police power ensures consistency and protection across the community, balancing private rights with public needs. Real-world example: police power in action. Imagine a homeowner in Tucson named Masi who starts building a garage expansion without permits, believing she can do as she wishes on her own land. A city inspector arrives, stops construction, and requires a permit. While frustrating to the owner, this protects the neighborhood from unsafe construction and preserves zoning integrity. This example illustrates that ownership does not supersede public safety and community welfare, reinforcing the idea that land rights are strong but not unlimited. Police power also covers issues like mold remediation, fire codes, pool safety, historic district preservation, and environmental protection. A homeowner in a historic district in Prescott may buy a charming 1920s cottage, but cannot replace its original facade with modern steel siding because historic zoning preserves the neighborhood's character and economic value. Eminent domain versus police power. Sometimes, public needs require more than regulation. They require ownership. Through eminent domain, the government may acquire private property for public use, such as widening a highway or creating a public park, but only with just compensation. This differs from police power, where land use is regulated without compensation. For example, a zoning change preventing construction of a gas station in a residential zone does not require the government to pay the owner. However, if that same land is taken to build a new public school, the owner must be compensated fairly. Eminent domain is often used for roads, utilities, parks, and public buildings. and courts oversee compensation and fairness. Zoning, the primary land use tool. Zoning is the backbone of public land control and translates the master plan into enforceable rules. It divides land into districts based on allowed uses, such as residential, commercial, agricultural, or industrial. These rules determine what can be built, where it can be built, how dense development may be, and how structures appear. A zoning ordinance typically regulates building heights, setbacks from property lines, minimum lot sizes, parking requirements, sign placement, and even architectural style in some communities. For example, a zoning ordinance might prevent a 10-story hotel from being built in a neighborhood of single-story homes, or require landscaping buffers between a commercial plaza and residential townhomes to protect privacy and reduce noise. Types of zoning districts. Zoning districts include numerous classifications, and large counties such as Maricopa or Pima may have hundreds of subcategories. The primary categories include residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, public, and planned unit developments, PUDs. Residential districts regulate homes and living environments, including single-family, multifamily, condominiums, townhomes, and group homes. They balance density and character, preserving neighborhood feel while supporting housing needs. Commercial districts regulate shopping centers, offices, hotels, and service businesses. They often consider traffic flow, parking, hours of operation, and noise. For example, a C1 zone might allow neighborhood coffee shops, bank branches, and daycare centers, while a C3 zone could allow large auto repair facilities, equipment rental yards, or theaters. Industrial districts regulate manufacturing and logistics uses, ranging from light industrial, such as distribution warehouses, to heavy industrial, like fabrication shops or manufacturing plants. These zones must be carefully located to avoid conflict with homes, schools, and parks. Agricultural zoning protects farmland and livestock operations from urban encroachment, preserving open space and food production. Rural areas often restrict density and permit livestock and crops. Public zones include facilities like schools, parks, police stations, and libraries, ensuring communities have access to essential services and green space. PUD zoning makes master plan communities possible, blending residential, recreational, and commercial uses in carefully designed environments. Communities like Verrado or DC Ranch in Arizona illustrate PUD benefits, incorporating parks, schools, trails, and retail centers into cohesive neighborhoods. Zoning appeals and variances. Not every situation fits perfectly within zoning rules. When property owners need exceptions, they can request hearings before a zoning board of adjustment. This administrative body interprets rules and considers requests such as variances, zoning amendments, and non-conforming uses. For instance, if a homeowner's lot is unusually shaped and requires a modified setback to build a garage, they may apply for a variance. The board reviews the request, considers neighbors' rights, and weighs community impact before making a decision. Rezoning and development approvals. Changing zoning requires a formal process that includes public notice, application fees, development plans, planning staff review, community hearings, and a final vote. A rezoning request might allow farmland to be converted into a commercial plaza or a vacant warehouse into loft apartments. Because rezoning can dramatically increase land value, accuracy, transparency, and public input are essential. Arizona rezoning applications may take several months, involve planning reviews and neighborhood input, and require approval from local leadership. Review summary. Public land use controls serve as the enforcement arm of the master plan, ensuring orderly development and protecting community welfare. Through police power, governments guide land use. Through zoning laws, they translate planning vision into regulation. And through eminent domain, they acquire property when necessary for public benefit. By understanding zoning classifications, enforcement methods, and landowner rights, real estate professionals can better guide clients, evaluate property potential, and anticipate regulatory impacts. Closing remarks. Public land use controls are foundational to real estate practice. They protect communities, support infrastructure, preserve property values, and ensure that growth benefits everyone as you assist buyers, sellers, and investors. Your ability to interpret zoning codes, identify development opportunities, and explain restrictions will help clients make informed and profitable decisions. With this understanding in place, we will next explore private land controls and how they complement government zoning. Discussion. Why must zoning remain consistent with the master plan? Answer. To ensure development aligns with long-term community goals, infrastructure capacity, and public welfare. What is the key difference between police power and eminent domain? Answer. Police power regulates land use without compensation, while eminent domain takes property for public use with just compensation. How do PUDs benefit communities? Answer. They allow mixed use, master plan development that integrates residential, commercial, and recreational uses for efficient land use and quality living environments. Why do rezoning applications require public hearings? Answer. To ensure transparency, protect neighborhood interests, and allow community input on land use changes.